Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Ivo Ferreira. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to do a simulation that I believe that every single surgeon should do at least twice a year, because it's something we can face and it's not very frequent. Okay, so when you're a great surgeon, sometimes this happens in a very low frequency, and sometimes we need to simulate this in order to be ready. This is the transition in when you're doing irrigation aspiration, and then suddenly you have a posterior capsular break, and then you do the transition to an anterior vitrectomy. So what's going to happen here in this scenario, as you can see, is we're going to have the cortex, and we're going to start doing irrigation aspiration with a coaxial. So in this scenario, as you can see, we're going to start doing irrigation aspiration in this cortex, okay, and we're going to have a posterior capsular break no matter what. So the first and most important thing is to remain calm, go to position 1 with the foot pedal, okay, and in this case we're going to inject viscoelastic. Because it's a simulated environment, we're going to have triamcinolone that is going to be ready. So for a matter of visualizing vitreous perfectly, as you can see, I'm injecting triamcinolone with my non-dominant hand and with irrigation on, and then I'm going to inject viscoelastics in order to create space to protect structures, but also to create a positive pressure in the anterior chamber, so we don't bring vitreous from the posterior pole to the anterior pole. Okay, so I'm putting a lot of viscoelastics, and then I can remove my eye irrigation aspiration piece. Now I'm going to prepare myself to do anterior vitrectomy, and I'm going to do it bimanually, and we're going to irrigate through the paracentesis. This is important. Irrigation through the paracentesis. Vitrector also through a paracentesis with continuous irrigation. Okay, and here I'm going to put my vitrector. Okay, and I'm going to go deep. I'm going to start doing the anterior vitrectomy below the level, okay, of the rhexis. Many American surgeons, they do pars plana because they want to go below the level of the rhexis. Okay, as you can see, I can also remove some cortex as well. But as you can see, also the vitreous is going down, going, below the level of the rupture. So what I'm doing is I'm separating the vitreous that is in the posterior chamber between the vitreous that is in the anterior chamber, which is what I really want in order to have control. Okay, my movements are very slow. I'm very precise with everything. I have a centered eye at all times. And I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna take my time again to remove all vitreous and to detach vitreous that is in the posterior chamber with the anterior one. Okay, then I can go to position 1. And one of the things we can do is we can actually sometimes even use the, we can use the same vitrector in order to remove the cortex. To be very, very careful. Okay, so we don't need to switch. And I put the cutter off, and I have my same technique in order to detach that cortex, bring it to the safety zone, and slightly remove it and control all the structure perfectly. Again, when I keep the irrigation on, and I'm going to use, in this case, my dominant hand to inject viscoelastic, but as you can see, my hand position is not easy, and we're not very used to inject viscoelastic with only one hand. So now I'm gonna use it, and inject a lot of dispersive or cohesive viscoelastic to create that chamber, and then I'm gonna remove it. Okay, so with this thing in mind, I did everything I had to do. First, I remain calm when I have a posterior capsular break. I spend in position 1 with irrigation. Then I put dispersive viscoelastic with my non-dominant hand through a paracentesis, and then I'm able to remove my instruments. I prepare my vitrector, I can prepare my triamcinolone. So what I do is I stain the vitreous and I do an anterior vitrectomy from below the level of the rupture. I take my time, I remove everything of what I have. If I have vitreous, I remove it. If I have cortex, I remove it. And then in the end, before I leave, I put viscoelastic again in order to create space in that anterior chamber. Thank you very much.